stupid people fucked around and they found out real quick. So the anime streaming service Crunchyroll has decided that they are going to move into AI generated subtitles. Crunchyroll CEO says AI generated subtitles are definitely an area we're focused on. And now there's a lot of reasons for this. And like you can approach this from a ton of different angles, and I will get into that like as we go through the article. So Crunchyroll CEO Rahul Purini says AI generated subtitles are an area of focused testing for the streaming service, perhaps to the dismay of audiences. Now, I will say right off the bat, audiences are not generally dismayed by that because anime fans have long had a huge beef with localizers for the shit they do to more niche, less popular series. I mean, I covered the Lovely Complex dubbing scenario where the guy basically talked shit about the original, about how much he and his buddies improved it. And yeah, it is quite the event, and it's been going on for quite some time. Perini sat down with The Verge for an hour-long interview where he discussed how Crunchyroll could become a more attractive option for anime fans. Yes, because piracy has been a very big thing. People do not want to pay Crunchyroll for many different reasons. One of which being their alleged doubling of subscription prices after shutting down Funimation and Funimation's digital libraries. So one solution was increased development of AI-generated subtitles, where Perini said AI is definitely something we think about a lot of different workflows in the organization. Right now, one of the areas we're very focused on testing is subtitling and our closed captioning, where we go from speech to text. How do we improve and optimize our process where we can get the subtitles done in various languages across the world faster so that we can launch as close to the Japanese release as possible? That's the big thing that is really driving this. And I will put this away for a second. Getting as close as possible to the Japanese release is one of the things they've been trying to do for a while, because obviously translation takes time, especially with like dubbing and all that. So the English translations, even with subtitles, can lag a couple weeks to like months behind the Japanese releases. They've been trying to match with the Japanese releases for a while, and now this is one thing that Kodansha has actually been getting on. They are releasing series that were drafted in English first, which means that the West, like English speakers, get manga at the same time as Japanese people. Very interesting. Because the West is a huge source of money for this industry right now. There's other things that go into this. There's also the issue of piracy. There is the belief that with more accurate and faster translation, piracy will go down because a lot of people pirate just to be able to get what they want out of anime. They don't want like politically injected bullshit in their anime, which is something localizers have done. They do not want bad translations. They want things that are as in good faith and good quality as possible. Perini's quotes arose during a conversation about how he hoped to make Crunchyroll more viable than piracy, which one of piracy's biggest selling points being that it's free and sometimes also releases content faster than official services. He highlighted that fan desire to access anime as close to the Japanese release as possible was the motivation behind the development for AI-generated subtitles. Naturally, AI subtitling proves contentious. Many anime fans were concerned about the low-quality subtitles in the Yuzuki family's Four Sons debut episode. a more niche anime, but it still does apply the point that machine translations can be clunky and weird at times, leading some to believe that they had been generated by AI. These subtitles were notoriously awkward, occasionally to the point of being nonsensical, and featured numerous grammatical issues. Crunchyroll was forced to delete the episode following outrage by fans on social media, with many asking why they didn't pay professionals to do a better job. Many manga fans on social media also cite poor official translations as a motivator for piracy, with the United States being the number one worst offender for piracy in the world. Um, this conversation resurfaced following the arrest of two individuals in Japan for leaking early content of Weekly Shonen Jump manga. With the rapid growth of AI translation, quality may certainly meet fan expectations in the near future. Nevertheless, many continue to argue that the nuance in language is best captured by human experience, creating a trade off for Crunchyroll between cost and continuing to expand to the hundreds of millions of anime fans worldwide. So here's the multiple aspects of the issue that I want to point out. One, fans don't actually like localizers. They have proven themselves to be a group of people who are just about as ideologically inclined to change shit in manga and anime as Marvel, DC, everyone else, Hollywood. So fans are kind of mixed on the idea of giving localizers the boot. I mean, we had the issue with Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. We've had the issues with a lot of these other more obscure ones putting in lines like I believe the official dub for one of them was bitches, bros, and non-binary hoes or something like that. Was an actual line in one of them. People who are sick of localizers doing their thing are excited to see that AI is going to replace them because FAFO. We all like FAFO. On the other hand, this issue of localizers going and doing their own thing and inserting their own agendas into these more obscure anime has given these companies a lot of leeway to boot them without any fan backlash. People are actually on the sides of corporations in this one in some cases. It's kind of funny. But then we come to like the actual quality issue. We come to like piracy, we come to translation quality, and we come to timeliness. And AI does have the advantage of possibly being able to do all of those things. I mean, you can have AI, be good faith, give you a good faith translation and one that's really close to the release. And that in and of itself would solve a good chunk of piracy. It would make things a lot more appeal. It would make people like more likely to go for the official versions and to actually pay for these subscription services. That's what these companies are looking for. They only care about the money at this point. Um, Now, obviously, there is the big issue, like Crunchyroll, with what they did with the money they were receiving that they said they were going to give to animators. Well, we saw how that went. We saw how they did their shit with X Arm and High Guardian Spice. Those were not well received projects. People were pissed that Crunchyroll was using their money that way. So we have no idea whether Crunchyroll is actually interested in giving us quality stuff, or if they're just looking at the money and thinking, "Hey, maybe we might be able to eke out a little bit more from these people if we cut our localizers." And look, I don't generally like to sit here and gloat about people losing their jobs because that's fucking rough. However, FAFO, they decided they wanted to not only disrespect the source material, but the fans of said source material by trying to change it, and in their hubris, they thought they could do better. Well, look where that's gotten you. Generally, what they end up doing is adding a bunch of stuff people don't like. I One of the things I think anime fans have proven is that you can have a medium of entertainment that just doesn't dabble in politics much, and a lot of people will come flocking to it because it's just pure escapism. That is why it's become so popular, because it's just pure escapism. And that can like bleed on in over to the issue of things going mainstream and all that. But there is one other article that I do need to cover on this topic though. So I'm going to pull that up now before I move on. Um so here we pretty much have what I'm talking about. So Persona series English localizer decries recently fired Lovely Complex dub writer, not for bad work, but for proving culture warrior weirdos right. She's basically pissed that they got caught. Some dude couldn't keep his mouth shut and they got busted for doing dumb shit. In further proving that the Western anime industry cares more about huffing up their own in-group image than actually doing their jobs properly, prominent public-facing Japanese to English localizer Katrina Leonidakis, is that how that's pronounced? It's right here, Katrina Leonidakis. That's what I'm has declared that, like many, she is unhappy with the recent revelation that a now former Lovely Complex dub writer intentionally butchered the anime's entire narrative for ideological reasons. But unlike the masses, her issue lies not with the blatant disrespect to the original work, but the fact that the entire situation has given validation for many criticisms of quote unquote culture warrior weirdos, i.e., regular fucking anime fans. Now, keep in mind, this was a niche romance anime. It wasn't some like big name shonen. As previously reported, following his publishing of a lengthy manifesto in which he bragged about how he definitely hated the series and went out of his way to alter its entire narrative, from changing character personalities to turning a feminine male into a transgender woman, Discotheque fired Lovely Complex localizer Brendan Jello Apocalypse Blaber from their roster of in-house translators. Frankly, having the dub come out this good in the end is a little frustrating, bragged Blaber in the Patreon post, which led to his firing. Anyone who watched this show as a kid has fond memories of it and revisits the dub will think, wow, it's just as good as I remember. No, it isn't. We made it good. This show sucked. Hey, does that sound like a lot of the Hollywood writers we hear about these days? However, rather than condemn Blaber for his absolute failure to properly do his job, Leonidakis, I still struggle to pronounce that name, who many may remember for either her work as a localization coordinator on the recent current gen ports of Atlus's Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden, or for proudly boasting about how she ran roughshod over High Dive's English subtitles for My Life as Inuka-san's Dog, instead chose to chastise him for giving ammo to the culture war weirdos who regularly chastise her industry's ideological graffiti. So, taking to Twitter on February 12th to share her opinion on the matter, the localizer began, "Do I know it's in my best interest to not say anything about this bullshit? Yes. Is anything I write only going to be taken the wrong way by culture war weirdos? Obviously. So I'll say this. You aren't going to love everything you work on, but it's your job to do justice to the work and its audience and remain professional about it all. And for fuck's sake, don't shit where you eat. You've hurt a lot of careers today." Further proving that she cared only about the realities of her industry being made public and not the fact that her peers as a whole have lost the plot when it comes to their jobs, Leonidakis then lamented every time you give the culture war weirdos fuel, you make things worse for the people they harass. Not only are you out of a job, said the localizer, but you've given them a brand new reason to send us death threats. Oh, fucking bullshit! Are you getting death threats? Maybe one or two. But you're acting like this is the reality of the whole thing. Well, I fucking doubt it. Things that didn't happen for like $80, please. But then someone has to fire back at them, Leonidakis then declared. Someone has to get the last word. Someone has to prove to them they're wrong, and they all get new fodder to harass us all again. I grew up on 4chan. I watched them milk lol cows. I know how this shit works. And now this, really? She continued in her protestations. You know they're still using that single scene from Dragon Maid dub nearly a decade later as a reason why we should all be lynched, right? Shut the fuck up. What do you think they're going to do with this, idiot? Finally, bringing her thread to a close, Leonidakis concluded, anyways, I'm sure they'll be here shortly to tell me why I deserve to get hate or slurs or death threats because, check Fox News article, I translated Gyaru as bimbo. Remember, local comrades, they don't give a shit about translation. She then disingenuously claimed, they just want to be mad at the libs. Says the person throwing a fucking bitch fit over things that didn't happen because you got called out for doing stupid shit. See, this is why I don't feel so bad about these people losing their jobs. Because the moment you want to sit there and be like, okay, well, maybe not every localizer is bad, they start saying shit like this. Talking about how it wasn't the changes that were the problem. She never mentioned the fact that, okay, well, maybe he was wrong to make those changes. All she railed on was the fact that he ruined things for everyone else. She was pissed that he stepped on the landmine that exposed everyone else for being the same. So, yeah, you didn't even address the issue that people were talking about. And you want to know why we bring up the Dragon Maid dub over and over and over again? To fucking drive home the point, because that was never apologized for. In fact, the chick who did it doubled down when Asmongold covered it. She said that Asmongold was sending hate after her. And look, I think Asmongold's a bit of a retard in and of himself, but he does he can have some good takes that I've seen. That aside, the localizer who did the dub still to this day believes she was right to change that line. Now, look, you don't have creative license to alter someone's writing or dialogue just to fit your ideological bullshit. And then also claim that you did it better. That's not how this works. You don't get to play the victim when you're the one causing the problems. None of us would be up your ass about this shit if y'all just did your fucking job. Which is why the companies can be like, hey, we're switching to AI to replace our localizers, and nobody really gives a fuck. They're all just like, okay. I mean, sucks to lose your job, but you weren't doing a very good one to begin with. It's the same hubris and egotism that has ruined a lot of Western entertainment. And it's been around almost as long as like every other problem culturally. And it all came in with like the early 2000s, 2010s stuff that happened. With anime, I don't know how long it's actually been going on. At least a decade, considering the Dragon Maid dub. That's going to be my new joke, is just bringing up the Dragon Maid dub on everything. Whenever a localizer comes up, Dragon Maid dub. There's no reasoning with them. Because in their mind, they're the victim. They're the ones who are like truly doing great work. They're saving the world. They're making the dub better. They've improved it. They made it more acceptable. Yeah, well, the thing is, we anime fans, we like the fact that some of this stuff is unacceptable. We like the fact that some of this is different than what we get in the West because I thought other experiencing other cultures and other ways of thinking was supposed to be a good thing. I guarantee you, Leona Leonidakis, however you pronounce that name, would be the kind of person who talks about how diversity and multiculturalism is the strength of the West, but has a complete like fucking meltdown when one of those other cultures disagrees with their ideology. I do not think that every single localizer or every single lib is out there doing it out of like malicious intent. But these localizers who make these changes definitely are. Like they have some sort of idea of snide they have like some sort of like snide agenda they want to push. They want to inflict their own ideologies on other people, just like a lot of writers and creators here in the West now. And it has affected everyone else in the industry. And that's the thing. Like a lot of the localizers who would be perfectly fine to have doing these translations, they're keeping their mouths shut because they don't want to get singled out by the psychos. So back to like just some final thoughts on the localizer thing. All things said, the localizers have pretty much given ammunition to other to companies to just boot them out entirely. They have put themselves in a bad light with anime fans. They have given the companies a chance to boot them out entirely and reduce their cost basis by using AI without having to face backlash from their customers. All I can say is you've done that to yourself, Anakin.